I call it the greatest outreach software of all time, and I'm kind of being tongue in cheek when I say that. But having spent 10 years in software sales, I got so frustrated with the tools that are out there. Um, Very cumbersome, very clunky, not a lot of intelligence added. And granted, this was before the age of AI, but there was just it didn't feel like the software was made by salespeople. It never did. There was always a lot of fragmentation in the process. So having to skip back and forth between systems, really not knowing where to start when it comes to actually prospecting or lead scraping, and all of it when you're in sales, when you're getting paid fairly well for your time, feels like pretty low value work, right? You're getting paid to sell to people, to communicate with people, to sort of lead them through a sales process, to be helpful, to answer their questions. But this type of work, when you're just working in software systems, felt pretty low value. So I decided to create the best outreach software of all time, what I wish I had in my many years of selling. So I call it Outreach Brain, and it's pretty much done. There's some debugging going on. I have a few folks using it now in private preview, but I hope to generally release it soon and let more folks get their hands on this. So if after you see you're interested in taking a look, just send me a message and I'm happy to set you up with a free trial. Okay, so let's dive in. What is Outreach Brain? So this is the main dashboard view of Outreach Brain, and it's very deceiving because it's simple and it looks a lot like probably other outreach softwares that you've seen. However, there's a lot going on under the hood here. It's full of artificial intelligence. And what I mean by that is it tries to learn everything about you, everything about the folks that you're going after, and everything about what you're trying to offer them. So there's a lot of intelligence kind of built into the software, and there's a lot of intelligence that gets gathered along the way. And the idea is once you spend 30, call it an hour onboarding with this software, you won't necessarily ever have to touch it again. You can. There are things that you can do. There are manual intervention steps that you can set. But if you wanted to just have this run autonomously and run your entire outreach strategy like a highly self-sufficient, highly intelligent SDR, it can do that. So what does it do? Basically, you're going to be if you decide to use the software, you'll be led through an onboarding flow, and the onboarding flow will take you through a series of questions. The first one is going to be all about you. So if I click on value proposition, this is the screen you will see when you kick off the onboarding wizard. And this is basically everything about your company. So I would encourage you to spend a lot of time with this piece. This is where you get to sort of give the AI as much context as you can about like who you are, who you serve. And if you want to get started with some AI assistance, you can. At every point in the system, you will have a lot of choice when it comes to the AI providers you use, because I truly believe different AI providers are better at different things. Gemini is very good at being cheap, so I like to have them as my cheap option. Claude is just generally the best, especially with human communication tasks, but they're the most expensive. OpenAI is kind of like good all-arounders, but not great at any one thing. But basically, yeah, if you select one of these and then you put your website in, you'll be able to generate your entire value proposition from your website. And that's what I did here. So basically, it scraped my website. It found who I serve, founders running their own sales, solopreneurs, managing a lot of revenue opportunities, but no time. What problem do you solve? Businesses have outgrown what one person can do. So you're looking for leverage without hiring. How do you solve it? AI infrastructure that automates tons of different functions, specifically go to market. What makes us different? And, some of the stuff it got was kind of generic, but that's where you can come in and edit any of this so that AI then has full context on your business. The next thing you'll do in the system is create your ICP. And you can have as many of these as you want, but the idea is who is your ideal customer profile for a specific offering. So I already generated one here. And this is basically like my investor persona. So if I click edit, this was all generated from a LinkedIn profile. So I basically dropped in a LinkedIn profile URL. It scraped that profile and it used my model selector. I think I had Gemini on this one. And basically it created a name, a description of this type of person, and it's trying to find an archetype. So it's trying to find like the DNA of why this person was a good fit for your offering. I recommend putting a past customer or current customer in here, because what it'll do is it will clone that person. It'll clone their identity and try to find like, how can we find more people like this profile? And I've really gone to a lot of effort here to make sure it's not just spitting out demographics. So I don't care that this person is based in the UK or that, they run a financial services company. It's not about that. It's about them being like a solo operator, high volume of, high potential deals, but not a big team. So that's like the DNA of like what made this person a good fit for my offering. And then basically it's going to create a full demographic fingerprint of that person. And it's going to try to even come up with some like signals. So what could your prospector, and we'll get to what that is in a second, find different pain signals on the internet that might indicate somebody fits this profile. What are some of their pain points? The idea is just like give them a 360 view of this person. It's probably the most important part of this entire process. But yeah, so that's ICP. So I recommend, create as many of these as you want. I just have one right now, and it's tied to a very specific offering for me. So I do deal sourcing for investors as one thing that I offer. And so I'm specifically running a campaign for folks that I think would be a good fit for this type of automation and system. And so the how I help section is where you can really specify what is it that you're trying to offer this specific person. So after you create your ICP, what's going to happen is automatically a campaign will be generated. So campaigns are associated specifically with an ICP. This particular demographic of your prospective customer is going to be reached out to with a very specific series of messaging steps, because you're trying to offer them something very specific, and you want to frame it in a very specific way for outreach. So there's a link that we've already started creating. The first rung of that chain is your value proposition. The next rung is your ICP, and then the next rung of that after that is campaign. And so campaigns are basically, again, tied to that specific person we're trying to get in touch with. And the second you start a campaign, you will have the option to activate something called the lead hunter. And the lead hunter is probably my favorite invention, my favorite part of this, because basically it's exhausting just to fill up in sales. And if you're running any kind of business, one of the most exhausting things is just farming people who would be a good fit for your offering. So even just getting the initial list together of people that might be a good fit, so that you can then start actually messaging and reaching out to them, I found to be the most exhausting part. So that's an automation that's hard-coded into this system, is something called the lead hunter. And what the lead hunter is going to do is it's going to intelligently create Sales Navigator search URLs for that ICP. So it's like, okay, we've got this demographic, the solopreneur investor people who are managing like very high volume of opportunities and deals. What's a Sales Navigator URL that I could use to find people like that? So it's gonna keep tabs on all of the different search queries that it's tried, and it's just gonna keep trying new ones in Sales Navigator. It's then going to scrape all the results, and it's going to match them against your ICP. So that ICP that I just showed you, it's going to say, okay, here's a result of my Sales Navigator search. Does that match what Josh is looking for with this particular campaign? If it will get a score, and if it's not accepted, it will just be skipped. And if it is accepted, it will be added to the campaign with a fit score. So all the leads that the lead hunter identifies are actually going to be put in your leads table here if you ever want to just come and look at them. And basically, this is their status, where they are in their sequence. So right now, I'm very early in this campaign, so profile viewed and comment as far as I've gotten. But basically, it'll tell you the campaign that they're associated with, high volume deal principle. It'll link to their LinkedIn profile, and then the AI reasoning as to why they're a match. So this is a partner at a multi-stage VC, strongly aligns with this institutional investor fund manager you're looking for. They use the profile, their seniority, their location, their title, and their industry to identify them as a good match. So I didn't want to get too in depth here, but just like at a high level, AI has looked at this and said, this is a 90% match of what you're looking for. And so it made the cut. It got added to the campaign. So if I toggle back and I click into the campaign, the next rung of the hierarchy is going to be the sequence. So once that campaign for your ICP is automatically generated, you will then have the ability to create a sequence for that particular ICP. And you can either have AI generate that sequence. And again, we have our model selector of what AI you want to generate. And you can actually add custom instructions like just look for people in the UK, or let's skip over anybody who's, has more than 10 employees, whatever it is. You can give AI special instructions at any stage of this, but then you can give it instructions as well as to like what you want this sequence to be like. Do you want it to be kind of aggressive, asking for a meeting, or do you want it to just be like sharing some materials, whatever it is. AI will then actually generate the sequence. So first step of this one, view profile, wait a day, comment on post, very similar to what you'd see in any other type of outreach software, with a few twists. In this case, we have something called AI variables, which you've probably seen in platforms like Instantly. But basically what you have is an AI instruction. So first, check if this is an event or promo post, announcement, webinar launch. If it's that, we don't want it to comment. We don't want to comment on posts like that. And then create a simple supportive message if that's the type of post it is and you don't have any other options. Seems like a great event. Sounds interesting. Don't add some insight if it's that type of post. But if it's like an investment strategy, deal sourcing, or market trends post, like a knowledge share post, react to one specific part of that, state the specific thing, then add a brief take. So that's an entire AI instruction of how to approach commenting for that comment step. So the AI is actually going to pull a bunch of posts. It's going to score the top most kind of relevant posts to what we're reaching out about. And then it's going to actually create a custom tailored comment for that post. These can all be sequenced for human approval. And that's always what I recommend to start off. Just have human in the loop approvals. And then if you start feeling comfortable with the messaging, you can always toggle it off and just have it be fully automated. After that, it's going to wait 2 days. It's going to send a connect request, again, totally customized, probably mentioning the post with a quick reaction, making sure they know like, hey, we're reaching out and connecting for a reason. If they accept the connection request, it's going to send a direct message. A few days, 5 days later, 10 days after the start of the sequence, it will try an email. So it's multi-channel as well. And then it's going to finish off with a final LinkedIn DM. So that's as long as the sequence will go at this point. Okay, so the first thing it's going to do is basically look for a post that it can comment on that seems relevant to kind of what we're offering or might like indicate some pain. If it doesn't find that, it's going to do a web search using my tool of choice, which is Tavily, and try to find another hook. In this case, there was like a fundraising event that raised over $2,000. Basically, we want to just put that in our connection request. Hey, saw this and would love to connect. Next, we're going to send a LinkedIn message. Hey, saw this, saw that you were doing some fundraising, sounded like a great effort. And then in this case, I've instructed it to just kind of dive right into my value prop. I work with a ton of founders and execs. The biggest challenge many of them struggle with is finding deals. So I like to be kind of short and to the point, but if you want to add more like tailoring and customization at the beginning, you totally can do that. And then we're going to follow up a few days later with email. similar, but we're going to talk about something else. Saw that you're, focused on growth at this company, and then repeat the value proposition, and then one final follow-up kind of nudge message. So pretty simple sequence. We can customize it as much as we want. We can make it fancy, and then we can save it. So then when I open up my dashboard every morning, basically all I want to see is the activity that's been occurring. So, hey, there was a profile view 6 hours ago. I want full transparency on what the AI is doing, on what the scheduler is doing. And it's running well. It's got all my actions queued up. It's viewing profiles. And then here I'll see my approval queue. Since I've asked the sequence to ask my permission before sending any sort of customer facing communication, that's all going to show up here in a really nice carousel view. And basically I can read the post that is being, in this case, we're approving comments because we're at that comment stage, but it's going to look exactly the same when it's connection requests or direct messages. And basically I can look at the comment. Are we witnessing the fall of America? Headlines focused on this. History suggests another possibility. And then the AI, I've instructed it to read the entire post and to try to come up with a human sounding and, hopefully a value adding comment. But obviously I want to look at these and make sure the tone is right before I make this automatic. The shedding metaphor is pretty compelling. That 38 trillion debt number is wild though. Curious how any version gets through that without some serious restructuring. Not the best post in the comment in the world, but also not terrible. Definitely doesn't scream AI to me. It sort of seems like a person, casually scrolling through LinkedIn that saw a post they like and commented on it. I can also edit it. I can reject it, or I can disqualify this lead if I'm like, wow, I don't know how this person got in my pipeline. Let's take them out. But as you can see, that's pretty much that's the entire extent of my effort right now. I just log into this every morning. I approve or reject messages, and the whole system just keeps reaching out to people autonomously and intelligently. And I mean, I created a system this is all based on a system that I created in N8N, and that system built my entire business. I just generated meetings on autopilot, and I just figured, hey, why not turn this into software? Because I think others would probably benefit from it as well. Beyond that, we have our analytics view. So here you'll just be able to see all your activity. We're going to have it enforce daily limits because LinkedIn is pretty sticky about, too many connection requests, too many messages, too much activity. All of it's going to be staggered to make it feel like a human. It's not going to just be on the dot, this time every day. It will intelligently reach out, but it also will enforce limits. So we're only going to do about 25 of each action per day to stay within our acceptable thresholds and not get flagged for bot detection or anything like that. So you'll see all that activity. You'll see where everyone is in your funnel. I have a bunch of people in the comment stage. I can approve all those at once, but then they'll just get staggered out throughout the day, throughout the week, basically. And then, these are the recent actions. The final thing that I forgot to cover at the very beginning is this system needs to not sound like AI. So what every bit of AI writing gets is a voice blueprint of you. So to do that, you actually go into this thing called the voice trainer, and this is part of your onboarding flow. And what you'll do is add in writing samples of different types of writing. So some LinkedIn posts, some of your comments, some of your messages. You'll add in a bunch of these assets, and then same thing, you'll pick your AI that you want to analyze it. It's going to do a full analysis of you and what you sound like. And that blueprint, in terms of even down to the words that you commonly use, your sentence structure, the tone, is going to get sent to all of your AI writers. So basically with that, it'll show you a bit of that blueprint. My voice profile is pragmatic, optimist with builder mentality. Honestly, kind of, yeah. The vocabulary, nothing crazy. Don't use too many big words. Style, conversational yet substantive. I use a lot of numbered lists, clear structure, balance a lot of personal experience with actionable insights, concrete examples, personality. I'm a patient builder, systems thinker, transparent about struggles. I'm not very formal in my communication. So it's not perfect. It doesn't sound exactly like me, but it does sound a lot like me. And most importantly, it doesn't really sound like AI when it writes, which is my main goal here. So yeah, I mean, I'll probably be doing a ton more deep dives. There's a lot more to the system, but it's minimalist by design. When I was reaching out to folks regularly in sales, I found so much of my time was eaten up by these really simple tasks: lead scraping, lead qualification, message writing, research. All of that is now automated in this system. And obviously we can still supervise, we can be the human overseeing what the AI is doing, but I would imagine this could, bring somebody's outreach week from 20 hours to like 5, something like that. I mean, it totally depends on the person, but yeah, I found it to be extremely valuable. If you're interested in taking a closer look or actually getting into the system, just send me a message. Happy to share my contact info in the description. But yeah, hope this was helpful and interesting, and I will see you in the next video.